publish or perish. These are normal slogans we hear in higher institutions. My name is YUSUF ABUBAKAR from the Department of Physics and Mathematics. The subject of our discussion today is global best practices in academic publications. Well, sometimes when we come to present a talk, and we have in our midst people like Professor Zakari, sometimes we get a little bit scared because he's a repository of knowledge. The only thing that makes me a little bit comfortable is that Professor Zakari is not just a senior academic to me, but he's also a father. Yes. So, I am highly protected here. Yes, you have been discussing throughout the research, conducting research, getting data, analyzing data, making meaning from the data. Of what use will that be without sharing with another person? Just like to talk about someone who is saying he's wealthy, but cannot share his wealth with other people. I mean, he's not. If you have money but you can't share it with other people, then you are as wretched as anything. So the gateway to sharing the knowledge, interacting with other people, is through publication. And I have gone through some of these processes as an academic in the university. So I had to publish at some point, either because I don't want to perish, or because of other reasons. I belong to Material Physics Research Group at Metropolitan University Zaria. I'm a fellow of Higher Education Academy, England. I participated in public engagement in science. I currently coordinate campaign and advocacy arm of Al-Majid School Modeling Initiative. This is one of my community service. I'm always interested in learning and teaching. In fact, I'm more interested in learning than teaching. Well, I have acquired some little certificates. I used to call them little certificates because it's not about the certificate always, we are told by Prof. Is trying to use it to make an impact. The outline of the discussion today, or the presentation, will be this way. We'll be looking at the academic publication, what is it, and the reason for your publication, why do you even want to publish, and where do we even publish our papers. I remember some times back, some people were promoted in the university with some papers, and when they moved to next promotion level, they were told that those papers are not acceptable. So how do you get started? How do you start writing? And the review stages. Hopefully, at the end of the day, we'll be looking at the recap. They say, as the newscasters used to say, isn't it? To end the news, the main point again. Now, academic publication. Simply, you may look at journals, magazines, scholarly journals, you look at the periodicals, but then it's a forum for interaction. It's a forum for scrutiny. It's a forum of passing information. It's a forum of having an independent view about your perception, about your perspective, about your type of research. I remember some times back when I was having my PhD viva, the examiner said, "Yusuf, I can see you have published part of this work. So what you are telling me that I can't tell you that this work is rubbish." So one way to really certify that you really did the work and you have contributed to the world of research is by publishing. Because someone who has no idea about what you are doing will now look at your paper and look at it and see whether it merits getting to the public. So that is simply what we may refer as to academic publication. There can be other publications from companies, data sheet, blogs and others, but here we are trying to talk about academic publication. Now the question, these may not be the only answers. Why do you want to publish? You know, they said that if you always know the reason why you're doing something, you will do it well. So why do you want to publish? Maybe some may even have answers out of this. Do we have anybody with any other answer out of this ones stated? The listed over there? Anybody?
Anybody?
This workshop, so I want it to be very, very interactive and engaging. You know, it's not a seminar. So I think at some point I will have to stop in the person there controlling the slides so that we get some more input from the participants. Sometimes you have written, or you may have written a chapter. That chapter may be your thesis chapter. Someone will tell you, this can make a good publication, or you think about it that it can make a good publication. And because of that, you go and publish it. And sometimes you publish because it's going to advance your academic career. Or definitely, whether it is within the country or outside the country, one of the ways to measure your academic impact is through publication. Of course, you can't publish without conducting the research, but it's not enough to conduct research without publishing, because that way you don't have an idea, you don't have a thought, you don't have another person scrutinizing your work, criticizing your work, and tell you whether he agrees with your work or not. And you can even develop a career outside academia. Some industries, by just mere citing your publication, they will invite you. They will tell you that we have seen your publication, we're happy with it, and we are hoping if you can come and join us in our industry to work together, because we're sure you are going to contribute a lot to the industry. That's outside academia, of course. Some are just joining the bandwagon. Everybody is publishing, let me just publish. Some are trying to transmit their ideas. They don't need a promotion. Say, for example, a professor in the university. You know, the professor, of course, is the highest level. But you still publish, because you have to transmit your ideas. You have to pass to other people. So even at professorial level, you are expected to publish. You can also diversify your academic network. You can secure collaboration between you and other people outside the country or within the country. By mere citing a publication, someone will communicate to you, I've seen your publication, I'm happy with it, can we collaborate? And things like that. And you may even secure scholarship. You may secure grant. One of our MSc students in our group is currently in Canada pursuing his PhD. When those people, because we are working on transformer monitoring, when they saw his paper, they asked him, did you do this work in Nigeria? He said yes. They asked again, are you sure? He said yes. And they discussed, they had interviews, and then they offered him scholarship. So there are a lot of things that a publication can do for you. Aside from everything, as the people like us, writing is a fun. Yes, it's good to write. Put a pen down, translate your ideas into writing so that someone can read. These are some of the questions we need to consider before we publish. If you want to publish in a journal, we need to know the formalities. This writing publication is no more writing for yourself. It's writing for others. So you are not just writing and then expect people to understand what you have written the way you would understand it. You have to use their spectacle and look at the writing. How will someone translate this words? How will he understand this sentence? These are the questions you should be asking yourself. And that is why there is need to understand the level of formality. How formal is your writing going to be? This one is not like writing a letter to your friend. It's not like writing on Facebook. It's not like writing a blog, okay, which has no any formality. But this one, it has its level of formality. When you are writing about a particular topic, particular area, particular specialization. How specific can the writing be? And how generic will the writing be? What message do you want to pass? If you take any paper today and you go through the abstract, you will understand the message the writer is trying to pass before you go even into the body of the article. So you need to ask yourself, what message do you want to pass? And how relevant is that work is considering the journal you want to publish your work with? If you can answer these questions very, very well, then you are good to go. Thank you. Some of the answers to these questions can be found in the author guideline. So when you go to the journal of the publisher's website, you will see the author guideline. Or when you read the call for papers, you will see the guideline for authors. You will also see the style, the guide to the style. So mostly like your first two questions are answered by just going to the website or by just looking at the paper that is calling for articles. So we have answered these questions at least by going through the journal article. The next time we go, let it be just one at a time. Sorry.
Oh.
Yes. No, it's okay. We can go to the next one. I mean, on the slide, you may have to tap more than one to finish on.
Oh.
So when you tap one, you stop. Yes. Now, choosing where to publish. You remember, like I said earlier, that some people were promoted with some journals in the university, Ahmad universities earlier, and then when they were moving to next level, they were asked to remove those papers. One of the reasons they say those papers are predatory journals. Well, the issue of predatory journals is debatable anyway, because unfortunately as well, in the university, the Ahmad universities area, I know, and we know, most of us know, that paper is accepted once it is published in a university. Nobody cares about the quality of your paper. Nobody cares about the impact of the paper. We hope that in the future, we will be looking at the quality of the paper as well, not just where the paper is published. So, if you want to publish, you are thinking of which journal you are going to publish, which publisher. A quick look, maybe the papers you have cited. While you were writing the article, you consulted a lot of journals. So look at just journals. Look at where they are published. That might give you a clue. And who are your audience? Because it's very important. If you take knowledge to the market of compound ignorance, you are liable to receive a lot of beating. Yes. Because, compound ignorant person is someone who doesn't know and doesn't know that he doesn't know. So the ignorance is compound. So you can't take your knowledge to him. So you have to be careful about your audience. Whom do you want to read this paper? You may use online tools like JANE. It may be of help to you. You may look at journal website and look at the information. Who are their targeted audience? Who are their target audience? Let me give you an idea. If you are not still satisfied or you are confused, you may want to contact the editor via email. You can also look at the calls for articles. There are normally some papers that have been distributed. This call for articles, submit your articles. You look at it. It will have background, aim, objectives, target audience, and the rest. What about impact factors? Very, very important. Impact factors. You look at your paper, you grade your paper, okay? For example, you feel the paper you have written should be submitted to a journal that has up to like 3, 4, or 5 impact factor. Although impact factors, we'll discuss more on this, I think, impact factors depend on discipline. You may have a paper with low impact factor, but will have greater impact, a paper with higher impact factor in a different discipline. So impact factor only does not really determine the impact of a paper. That is why there are different ways those who calculate the impact factors look at the impact factor. We'll come to that. The journal finder is also an online tool that you can use to search for journal, the journal you can publish. You may just go there and paste the title, and then it will search the journal for you. It will recommend the journal for you which you want to publish. You may go next. So normally the journal impact factor is looking at the citations. Take for example, you are considering 2 years. So you look at the number of citations in that journal, okay? Articles will be cited. So the number of citations in those articles over the span of the years under consideration divided by the number of articles published. This will give you the impact factor. You may also look at the immediacy factor, immediacy index, which is like average number of times the articles in a journal are cited within the particular year of publication. All these are very important. They are very important for us to know and to also make an informed judgment. For example, the major players in trying to determine impact factor or assess research or look at the impact of research are if you look at the online, you have the journal citation report, which is JCR, and Simago Journal and Country Research. Sorry, Simago Journal and Country rank. So these two normally rank journals. They normally try to look at the influence. What influence does the articles published in journals make? What impact does the article make? Sometimes the influence of the article may reach into, if it is something that has to do with product, may reach into commercialization of that product. So even the research impact, like I said, it's not only measured by citation. It goes beyond citation. So it goes beyond the impact factor. So normally it doesn't assess the quality of a particular article, but it will look at the journal itself. It will look at the quality of the journal. And that is why some journal publishers will tell you they will not be able to publish your work because it's not up to the quality or up to the standard of their journal. They will not accept your article because they don't want to cause problem to themselves. Because it's just like a kind of positive and negative. You know, it's there will be a kind of negative margin. You score high here, but because you have low impact here, you score low. And of course, not every journal will have the JCR or SJR impact factor. The impact factor will normally be updated annually. In a particular journal, you can have more than one subject area. If you have more than one subject area, it improves or increases the level of readership. you have like, for example, nuclear radiation and methods in physics A, nuclear radiation and methods in physics B, you know, or some other journals like that. But you find that in physics A you have actuators, radiation detectors, you know, simulation, radiation simulation, and the rest. Okay? All these topics are found in just one journal. And then the journals are normally grouped into quartiles: Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. Q1 is the top. Is at the top echelon. It's the best. So Q1 is the top best within the 25%. Okay? It is the 25% and it's ranked by the impact factor. Okay? And then the Q2 will be from the remaining 25% to 50%, and Q3 will be from the 50% down to 75%, and the Q4 will be from 75% to 100%. So Q4 has lower impact, okay, and has lower level of integrity as far as integrity in journal is concerned.
Next.
Yeah, maybe you need to sit down there. So, the beauty about these tools is that they allow you to make comparison between the impact factor of journals. So you'll be able to compare between the impact factor of journals. Excuse me, next slide. If you look at SJR, for example, it includes more number of journals than JCR. That is to say, it is less selective. So from this level, you may say that if your work is so good that you think it should go to the highest top quality journal, you may say that you will go to find journals in JCR website than the journals in SJR, because SJR is less selective. The demerit of the SJR, you find out it doesn't differentiate between the articles that are in sciences and social sciences. While in JCR, there is clear demarcation. So you have two versions. There is a version for social sciences and there's a version for sciences. So these are all things that are worth considering. Now, another thing precisely for us. When I say for us, I mean those in the third world countries. For you to use JCR, it's a tool, of course, it's online, but you have to pay. It's a paid for service. So you have to subscribe, or at least your institution must have subscribed, then you can go and use it. However, the SJR is a free of charge. You can always use it. And impact factor of JCR is fixed. What we mean by fixed is just impact factor, and these are the number, they just use the number of citations. Calculate the number of citations divided by the number of publications. That is it. But for SJR, it's not just number of citations. They also look at other parameters that they give weighting. For example, the link to the cited journals. How many links are formed, and how many journals have cited the journals that cited that journal. So they look at all this before they now get the impact factor. So from this point of view, we may say that you may look at SJR instead of JCR. So all that is kind of, you have to make a trade-off between the two. And the citation period for JCR is 2 years, while the citation period for SJR is 3 years. Meaning that you may have better impact factor sometimes if you consider SJR. because it's 3 years. And you may have worse impact factor. It all depends. If, for example, you have the 3 years, the number of impact factors, the number of citations in one of the years under consideration within the 3 years is like half the one in the first year or third year, maybe the one in the middle. You have lower impact factor. Okay? But it can also happen with number 2. But with number 2, you will have a simpler case, or will have you may not have your impact factor being reduced much. Because even if to say that the number of citations in the first year is like 50% of number of citations in the second year, you still have lower number of articles published. So therefore, the denominator is still very small compared to the denominator if we look at the SJR. However, the weighting of the SJR is very, very important, and that adds value to those journals there. They normally call Scopus index. Yes. Next. So this is just a typical example, typical window of the Chimago journal and country rank. That is SJR. You can just, if you are looking for a journal, you may receive an email from the journal publisher, come and publish with us. Just copy the name and just put it there and check. Likely you may not find the name there. And if you publish here, nobody, they used to say, no Jupiter, will come and tell you that your publication is not accepted. Okay? Predatory journals cannot be found here. Also on the platform of the JCR. Yes, next. Yes, very small. Now, what is publishable? I would like to hear a response from the participants. What is a publishable article? Can someone, yeah. Thank you, sir. Someone said an article that has made a meaningful contribution to knowledge. Is there any additional? I mean, we should interact. Yes, sir.
Articles that contribute to policy implementation.
Thank you. So articles that may influence our policies, whether it will influence the policy formulation or our implementation of the policy. Yes?
Articles that provide solution to present issues.
Okay, articles that try to address current challenges. Yeah.
Articles that fill a gap in particular specialization.
So articles that bridge the gap. I had one last person there.
Articles that build new theories.
Build new theories. So we have articles that are very innovative, bringing something new. You may wish to press now, sir. So what you are publishing, is it true? That's the first question. Because nobody will want to take the lie. Is it true? I mean, what you are saying, you found this, you found that, you measured this, you measured that, you got the result, and this is what the result implies. Is it true? Nobody will want to take the lie, because it can cost him his life. Is it new? Nobody wants to read an article or a paper, many times. I remember what my supervisor used to tell me, that she doesn't want to read work more than once. The first time you read it, because you don't know it, it's interesting. But when you read it the second time, you get tired and bored. You will never want to read it again. So what you are bringing, is it something new? How important is it? Because it may be true, it may be new, but is it important? Importance depends on where, what? Okay? What are you targeting? Where are you doing this work, or where is your target of implementation? Okay? I will give you a short story. That is this village. The villagers don't have enough money to build a good accommodation for themselves and their children. So you may have a room occupying the father and the mother and maybe 5 kids. But then they have this well that is very deep that they have to use camel to put together with a rope and pulley system so that they can draw the water. And those wells are at the back, behind the town. So you have to walk very long distance for you to get the water. So some people visited them and they feel these people are suffering. We need to help them. So as they reached, they told them that we want to build for you because it's not good for you. This one is kind of, you're so compact in one area. Let's have a room for the kids and a room for the parents. So they built for them. Sorry, they didn't build for them. What they did, they now constructed boreholes for them, which is very easy. In just a few minutes, you will get the water, right? So they built, and they built even other wells that are very easy for them to just draw water, and they left. So after they had left, these people saw this, they said, no, this is not going to assist us. They spoiled everything. Do you know why? Because they use the time when the children go to fetch water, that is the time they have a meaningful interaction with their family. Okay. So they didn't come to ask them, what is your problem? They didn't discuss with them. So however good your idea is, however innovative, even if it's true, even if it's new, it's meaningless because it's not important in that area. Okay. I want to do the next one. Well, so apart from the importance, you also look at, like what someone said, bridging the gap. Because you read articles, you did literature review. Why you did literature review is to be able to establish a gap, and you will want to bridge the gap. But did you bridge the gap? That is another question. Yes. Did you contribute to knowledge? Sometimes your paper must not satisfy all these conditions for you to be able to publish, but try to make sure that as much as possible, many of the conditions are satisfied. There will be variation in writing style. This is depending on the target readership. It's also dependent on the subject. It depends on the subject. It depends on the discipline. It depends on the house type of a particular journal. Take, for example, you want to publish in Nature, or you want to publish in Letters. Or like maybe an engineer want to publish in Transactions. You know, there is a language that has to be used. There's a style that has to be followed. Reputation of journal is very important. Like I said, like the Nature, because someone said that Nature has almost 97% of rejection rate. You just send, it's just like, you know how you send a message via your phone, and if unfortunately it did not deliver, it will just return it. So that is how you will get it when you send the article for publication. You just type and send, and then you see rejected. Don't worry, we'll come to that. How do you get started? Are you ready? You have to plan your write-up. in a systematic order. Put down everything. Write down the subtitles and try to write a bit about each subtitle, what you want to include before you get to writing. That will assist you a lot. Do not edit before writing. You'll sit down and say, okay, this is what I want to write. You'll be thinking about a sentence, say, okay, this word is not good in that sentence. Well, this sentence is not even good completely. Let's think of another sentence. You think about it, you say, okay, yeah, that may be right. But there's a problem here. You see, you have never written anything, and you have started editing. If you want to edit, you must write. So try as much as possible to put something down. That is not a stupid idea. Just get it written. Write it, and then you will then have the chance to change things. Yes. Publication structure. If you want to publish, you come to write, you look at your title. Title is very, very important. Many people lose citation because the title is not good. People will have to go and search for the article online. So you have to put a title that can be easily searched. Someone can easily search. By even one word, he will just get to your own article. You have to make sure that it doesn't have too many words. You have to make sure that it's accurate in terms of language, in terms of what the paper addresses. And you have to try to avoid using some terminologies that are specific to a particular discipline. For example, infantile mortality. Compare it to mortality amongst infants. So if someone comes to search mortality, he will get it. If someone wants to search infants, he will get it. But you say infantile, many people may not be likely to type this in their citation, in their search, you know. So this is very important. Next one. The abstract. One of the very important phases of your work. We were attending a training some times back because where I did my PhD, they normally have a structure. They call it Researcher Development Program. By the time you register, you will have a number of workshops. In fact, you have to attend those workshops for you to be able to pass your first year Viva. They call it first year Viva because by the time you register on PhD/MPhil. If you pass your first year Viva, then you will be upgraded to PhD. Otherwise, you'll be given 3 months to go back and prepare again for the examination. If you pass, then you continue with PhD. If you don't pass, you may be considered for MPhil or you'll be asked to go back home. Unfortunately, yes, I have some friends who were asked to go back home. Yes. So you have a workshop. The first one will be welcome to your PhD program. The next one will be managing your PhD program. The next one follows managing your supervisor. It continues up to the Viva workshop. You will have all workshops up to the Viva workshop. So they make sure they give you all it takes to graduate. So if you mess up, they will tell you, go back. Thank you for attending. So the abstract is very, very important. Language in abstract is very, very important. It has to be clear and it has to summarize all the work. Abstract is summary. Many people may not read your paper because when they want to read papers, like I said in the workshop, you are not expected when you want to look for paper to read for your work. You don't carry each journal and read all through. No, you read the abstract. Sometimes you only read journal paper because you want to learn about methodology. Sometimes you read it because you want to know what is current. Sometimes you need it because you want to know how a particular analysis is being made. Sometimes you want to read it because you want to know the perception of scholars about a particular issue. So there are many reasons why we read papers. So abstract will always guide us in choosing the papers. Yes. Introduction. Introduction will tell normally the reader what you have done, why you have done it, and the way you have done it, and possibly sometimes you may chip in something as part of the achievements of the research. In one of the papers I published with transaction, IEEE transaction nuclear science, I remember a statement I made towards the end of the introduction. I said, for the first time, we are introducing the stability of silicon carbide detector under high temperature. I was, and I'm really sure that then, that was the first time. So sometimes they say if you don't blow your trumpet, it will be stolen. So blow your trumpet. If you know you did it, say yes, I did it. Echo and re-echo your achievement of the research in the paper from the beginning to the end. Not at the beginning, not just at the beginning, not just at the middle, not just at the end. No, right on. This is what we have achieved. Yes, you did the work. But something interesting, if you look at the introduction, it started wide and it narrows. Because in many of the papers, you don't even have any room for literature review. The literature review will still be part of your introduction. So as you write on general terms. But as the writing progresses, you get to narrow to the focus, where you want your reader to focus his attention to. So that is why it's in that shape. Yes. You have methodology, very important as well. What did you do? How did you do it? In particular, how did you do it? There are languages that should be used. I will give you, and hopefully I will share a reference with you, because there are languages you can use either in the methodology or even in the introduction, that if you are not careful, it will make different meaning. Okay? If you say I lived, for example, in Zaria, and I have lived in Zaria, is there any difference? So what does the first one mean? I lived in Zaria. I lived in Zaria. What does that mean? You once lived in Zaria, but you no longer live in Zaria. I have lived in Zaria. No?
I have.
Because of the house, then you are still living in Zaria. Well, I'm not an English student. I'm a physics student. I'm just trying to. So results. Results also very important. You see, you can have data, but if you don't know what to say about the data, you are not different from that research assistant out there who is assisting you to get the data. Data doesn't speak for itself. You have to make a meaning out of it. You have to talk about salient features in the result. What do you want the reader to understand? What did you find? What does it mean? What is implication about the result? So you talk about the result, you discuss about your result. Discussion is very important. In some journals, in some writing, some are flexible, some may say, okay, you have to lump together. Some you just introduce result, and then you talk about discussion. Some you lump the discussion, result and discussion. In my own area, in sciences, we normally used to have what we call results and discussion. In the other areas, you may have only results being presented, social sciences and art. Okay? It is all acceptable. The most important thing is that you make sure that your paper is interesting. Someone should be interested in reading your paper. Okay? Then, conclusion. To end the news, the main points again. The main points again. Now, Erika, what was the aim of the research? What was the objective? Have you achieved it? If you have achieved it, state it there. And where do you think that will be used? It's also important. You can still put it there in the conclusion. Then you have your references. I don't know, I hope nobody is writing references manually now. Yes, because nobody has the time to write references manually. there are many software there that are free. You have Zotero, you have Mendeley, you have Jabrek. In fact, you have Internet, you must subscribe. RefWorks, you may have to subscribe. But even using just the Word program, if you learn it very well, you may be able to do a reference like that. References is very important, but not only arranging and putting down the references. How current are the references? You shouldn't be publishing your paper in 2022 and bring a reference of 1990. Even if it is 1998, even if it is 1999, it's still not as current as expected. We should see papers like possibly within 5 years.
Yes, 5 years currency.
Yes. And you can do that because there are many open access journals now. There is what they call directory of open access journals. Yes. Some articles, precisely in the fields of social sciences, you have theoretical framework, because some will base their research, their findings, or the work they are doing based on a particular theory. So they have to state that theory and explain what they understand about the theory, and also guide the reader on how that theory was used to conduct the research. If you have a grant, if your research was supported by a grant, you need to acknowledge those people who gave you the grant. At least you need to thank them, isn't it? And then, like I said earlier, the references in the journal must be recent. Yes. When you write, most of the writings in those days, precisely, many of us in sciences were encouraged to go passive in terms of the voice we use. Okay? So thing was done, temperature was measured, you know, and continue like that. Okay? Which is passive. Okay? So you find out in the passive, you're not putting the agent in the picture. But in active, you are putting the agent in the picture, but in passive, you are putting the agent behind. So it depends on the emphasis you want to make. Or it depends on the type of the research that's been conducted, or the type of the journal you are publishing. It is always important to look at what you want your reader to understand. Majorly, we are advised to use active rather than passive. Sometimes you combine the two. It all depends on the message. Yes. If you want to lay emphasis, you may use active or passive, but depends. Sometimes the important thing is some part of the sentence. Okay? So you use active at the part of the sentence that is important. Sometimes you want to reduce the word count. You may use active or passive, whichever way. Because there is a restriction also in the number of words sometimes. You want to also make your paper easier for someone to read. Sometimes you use active, sometimes you use passive, as the case may be, yes. As I said, active voice is always encouraged. Okay? Like what I was telling you earlier, I wrote in one of the, in part of the introductory part of one of the papers I published, that I said, for the first time, we. I use we because of importance, laying emphasis. Okay? So sometimes you want to lay emphasis, you use active. And you may use the passive if maybe the agent may not be known, or it's not known, or it's not even important. Okay? Or to the reader is known. For example, you conducted the research, you are writing about methodology. You may not have to write, we have done this, we have done that. You can really say so thing has been done. Because obviously you are the one who did it. Okay? Sometimes there is level of importance between the agent and the action. Okay? Sometimes the agent is less important, sometimes the action is less important. So sometimes you are even talking, are writing about a particular topic, about a topical issue. You look at one particular topic is more important than the other, so you use active so that you put the other one in silence. Even when you come to do literature review, if you want to put an idea, an argument in silence, you can find a way of making it in a passive way. And if you want to put the other one in active, you put it. And you use words that will identify your agreement, acceptance, approval, disagreement, disapproval, and the rest. Precisely those words are used in literature review because many of our researchers today are writing a literature review like a report, like a journalist reporting, so thing happened, so thing happened, and that's the end of it. That's not a literature review. The literature review has to be critical. You have to criticize, and you can criticize any paper, even if it is published in Nature. Like in science, we have Nature, isn't it? So even if it's published in Nature, you can still criticize it. You have to make sure that your word is hard. Be assertive. You can say so person has conducted so research, you know, and then at the end you can say, however, issue was given little attention. And then, if you want to approve, you may say that Mr. A has successfully determined so things by considering so things. Okay? Here you are trying to state where you stand. You are stating your own position as far as the research. Rather than saying so person has done this, so person has done. Okay, you, what is your view? Are you on the fence? Writing an abstract. When you finish your writing the article, then you come to write abstract. You don't write abstract at the beginning. Just like you don't write conclusion at the beginning. You finish writing the paper and you come and look at the paper and you write an abstract. Abstract has to be catchy. Abstract has to send a message. Abstract must summarize the paper completely. Somebody should not need to read your complete paper after reading the abstract. By mere reading your abstract, it should give the reader complete idea about the work. So that is why abstract is very, very important. And often, journals may get rejected because of problems with abstract. There are normally or commonly about two models we have in the abstract. The first one is the one that focuses on aspects of research. And the aspects are it's entirely all about the paper. It takes some part of introduction, some part of your methods, some part of your result, some part of your conclusions. They will put all together and make an abstract. That is one of the models. The second model will only concentrate on methods and results. The first model is mostly applied for conference papers, where you may also have very larger diversity in the readership, in the target audience. You may have people even coming from industry, so they are non-technical people. Okay, so you need to break it down, tell them the background about the work, the method, the result, and the implication of the result. But for specialized, kind of discipline-specific journals, many of them you find the abstract in the other model. Whichever one you take, it depends on either the journal or the message you want to find. You may see some abstract sign, for example, it will say that the behavior of students with respect to order given to them by teachers has been accessed using this and that. It was found. So it just told you the work that has been done, the methodology, and then the result. Methodology and perhaps the result, and that is all. It may not even tell you conclusion. Okay? Some may not even conclude. Yes. So this is an example of abstract. Yes, I'm not trying to do what they call dead by the slide. But what I'm trying to do is to give us a particular abstract that takes almost all parts of a paper. If you look at the first part, it's talking about a background. If you look at the second part, it's talking about a hypothesis. Okay? And if you look at the third part, it's talking about what was done. Then the fourth part is talking about the result. And the last part is talking about conclusion. And this is just a simple abstract. I cannot even remember which journal, but I know I got it from a particular journal. Yes. So this is like the model 1. And as we said earlier, the model 2 will only take the last 2 parts. Yes. When you are writing, you are expected to act like someone who is guiding the blind. So you are the only person who can see. They say in the land of the blind, one-eyed person is a king. Yes. So you have the 2 eyes, you are guiding. So you should guide and guide properly. You have to make sure that you have signposting. You know, we use the signpost for the road map to guide you to the place where you want to go to. That is how your writing is expected to be. You should be guiding the reader. At some point, you may even make promises and deliver at some point. And within the paper, you may make also reference to the promise you made. Okay? You can start discussing about an issue, and you will say that this will be discussed in detail in so and so section. You are promising the reader. Okay? And it will make it more interesting for him to follow. He will be eager to go and read that what you say you have discussed in detail. Okay? And when you are writing in the paper, you may make reference and say that, as stated earlier, in so and so section, you know? So you're trying to make the mind of the person to remember, okay, you have read this, okay, now we are applying this. Okay? Some of the mistakes the writers are committing is to find introduction with being buried in method. Okay? Or you find the theoretical framework in method. Or you write method being discussed in results and discussion. This is something we have to be careful about. In sciences and social sciences, you may all see this. So you have to be careful. You make sure that everyone belongs to its own area. So signaling is very, very important. In each section, you should be able to tell the reader what the section is for, where the section intends to. Thank you. What the section intends to deliver, the focus. Okay? You may use these words like introduce, this section introduce, or discuss, or explain, describe, analyze, present, outline. There are many number of words you can choose. For example, you say that this section describe, and then at the end you will say this section has analyzed. So in the beginning, you are telling the reader that this is what is going to happen. At the end, you are making a recap of this is what happened. And then you will guide to the next section of the writing. Yes? The problem? Now, signposting. Like I said earlier, you have to use signs to guide the reader. You are the one who can see now. The reader is blind, and he will take what you have given him. If you don't give him very well, he will have problem. If you don't guide the blind, he may have problem. He may fall in a hole. You know, he may get injured. So it's important to guide your reader. You don't, if you want to list items, you might say firstly, secondly, but then just say firstly, secondly, and keep quiet. We need to be also talking about finally. Okay? You may be trying to express some level of accepted outcome. Okay? You may be given reasons. You may try to summarize in summary, in sum, and all. Yes. Topic sentences are very important. When you start a paragraph, you start with a topic sentence, which will normally give the main idea. It will tell you about the main idea of the paragraph when you use a topic sentence. It will also pinpoint what the writer wants to achieve, or what he wants you to achieve, or what he wants you to understand by the time you read it. Mostly you find it at the beginning of the paragraph, but you may also add find a topical sentence at the end of the paragraph. And most importantly, you will have to concisely express your paragraph. Okay? You don't write because you want to write, and as we used to do here, when you show someone, like if I show you my thesis just like this, it's very tiny, very tiny. But here, if you show somebody something like this and say, this is my PhD, this is what? You didn't do anything. Because you didn't write a lot. It's not about writing. It's about communicating. They used to tell us that even your PhD thesis must tell a story. It is a storyteller. Okay? So it should encourage someone to go through. Yes? At the point of editing, you have to look at article structure. It's very, very important. You have the paragraph of the paper. Sometimes you have to forecast it. You have to make sure you have clear statement. You have to try to show the reader how the argument progressed. And you have to always try to refer to key terms. In each discipline, there are terminologies, there are terms. And in each paper, there are important terms. So make sure you make reference to those important parts. And make sure you mention your contribution in the paper throughout, not just in one particular point. And we also look at the introduction, and you look at the aim at the end of the day. The claim, at the end of the day. You made a claim. Has the claim matches what you said in the introductory aspect? Isn't it? When the person read the paper, you stated your aims, you stated your objectives, you got the result, you analyze the result, you have the conclusion. Did you fulfill the promise? Because the promise, you promised him that you will deliver. So at least you need to tell him, even if he may not be able to find it or understand, you need to tell him at the level of conclusion that I have promised and I have delivered. The market statement, market language used to say that promise and over-deliver. At least deliver. You need to also try to avoid repetition. For example, in the beginning of the sentence, you said, the behavior of matter can be examined by using many techniques. The behavior of matter is very important in understanding how energy can be transformed from one point to another. The point of starting of this work should be, did you hear what I said? They. Doesn't make sense. So you have to try to avoid repetition. Okay? If you repeat too many times, the reader will lose interest. And avoid redundant words. Any word in your article should have a meaning. You must have a reason for putting a particular word in your article. If you don't know the reason, please take it out. Make sure your sentences are clear. Okay? Read and read again. Sometimes you write, you keep it. You forget about it for over a week. You take it and read again. You will see mistakes. And that is why sometimes when you write, You share with your friends, because it's only your friend care about you. He will read and give you his own input. Try to have many words. Use synonyms. Use different sentence structures. Because that will assist you to entice the reader. He will be reading and he will feel as if he's licking honey. Because the writing is very sweet. Yes, next. This is an activity, I don't think we can do it here. But maybe you do it at a later time. I'm not sure whether even I have expended my time. What it just saying, you should write this following sentence to make it more concise and to remove any repetition of ideas. The next one is also an activity which will more of summary. You remember we did summary in our secondary schools, isn't it? Summary and comprehension. Some of us don't pay attention to it. You still need it. It's very, very important. They used to say, in one sentence, summarize so paragraph. This one, you are writing the following sentence, you are reducing the number of counts of words from 28 to 18. Those who are used to writing application for grants will understand how important the number of words means. You will be restricted to the number of words to use, and you have to apply, and you have to make meaning. You want to tell the person that is going to give you the grant that what you want to do is very, very important. Yet you are restricted to the number of words to use. Yes. Next slide. Proofreading is very, very important. There are software you can use available. For example, you can use Grammarly. Did you say snap screen for Grammarly? You just go and paste the work, you need to look into it and suggest. Proofreading is a good business. Many people do it, even online. They will send a work to you, you will read it, you look at it, you make corrections, and then you will earn your money. So it's a big business. If you don't proofread, then your paper will not get you anywhere. That is why sometimes you are advised to also share with other people to look at it and advise you. Yes. Article preparation is a daunting task. However, there is always reward for it. One of the rewards is like what we stated earlier. You get promoted, you get a new job, you get collaboration, you get a grant, you get a scholarship. Above all, you get cited. I don't know whether we used to get excited when we were cited. I saw one of the key players in my area about a month back citing my article. When I look, I said, wow, you mean my work is important to you? Those are some of the rewards, but it is really a daunting task. You have to plan. You have to look at the questions that you need to answer. You have to look at the analysis that you need. You have to look at which journal are you going to take your work to. You have to look at the format of your document. Page size, font type, font size, etc. You have to reflect about the paper. You have to think very well. You have to look at sections. Which sections? How many sections? What type of sections? What will be involved in a section? Then you produce a first draft. When you produce a first draft, you go back to the journal, your target journal, and then compare your work with the guidelines in the journal. When you are satisfied, then you go to second draft. When you get the second draft, share with your co-authors for two reasons. Your co-authors will be able to identify flaws in the writing, which you may not be able to identify. Number two, not everybody wants to have his name on a journal, on an article, because of two things. Some people are trying to guide their integrity. They don't want their name to be in any paper. Number two, some people don't want their name to be on a paper that they have not contributed. Either they have never contributed in the research or they have never contributed in the paper. Though I know in many higher institutions in Nigeria, what is going on is like kind of, you know, the reverse. The reverse is the case. Add my name syndrome. What are you doing? I want to publish a paper. Please add my name. I don't mind. I will contribute to the money to publish. That is all. And that is lack of sincerity. So if we want others elsewhere to be sincere, we need to look inward. So share with your co-authors, make another draft, share it with other co-authors and the peers. You will have meaningful inputs. When I was writing a particular paper while I was a student, I had to pass my paper through two particular persons. One is my supervisor. My supervisor is a German. Though she could speak she has very good, excellent English. Okay? Yet, I passed another copy of the paper to our English tutor. We normally used to have 8 hours of tutorial from the English tutor. You have 8 hours free. You don't have to pay. So you book for their time, you go and sit down, and you go through your work. So on the aspect of technical, I have feedback. On the aspect of English, I have feedback. I will put all together and make a paper, a sound paper. So you need to share. So when you are sharing, try to share with people who have knowledge in that discipline, and also share with people who don't have knowledge in the discipline, but they have knowledge in the language, because language is very, very important. Then, after all, you do thorough proofreading. You go through it and make sure, as far as you are concerned, you have done your best and submit. So after submission, what comes next? Sorry, before submission, there are issues very important to clarify. Next slide. Plagiarism, similarity index, copyright issues, permission, support on open access, and intention for patenting. All these are very important. Before you submit, please look at this. 1, plagiarism. Taking someone's idea without clearly acknowledging it, or copying verbatim without showing the page number, everything, and without showing exact where it's without using quotation marks, is also plagiarism. Even using a picture or figure that you just get online is plagiarism. In fact, it can get you into trouble. You may get litigation because of copyright issues. If you have to use a figure for a journal, or you have to use a picture and it's copyrighted, please seek for permission. For some researchers who want to publish, they may have support for open access. You are submitting to a journal that normally is not open access, so you pay for it to be open access. If you have support for that, that's the right time to decide on that. And lastly, you may want to patent it. We have a work currently in our research group that we want to patent, and we're not going to publish it, because if you publish, then you cannot patent it. Yes, next. Review stages. Now, after you have submitted your paper will undergo review. At first, the editor will collect the paper. The editor will receive your paper. He will review it. He may outrightly reject the paper, like just between 5 minutes of submission. It all depends on the journal. It all depends on the article. If he's happy with it, he will pass it to the reviewers. They will review and recommend. Your paper may be recommended for rejection, then it will be taken back to you. Your paper may be accepted without corrections, then get to publish. Your paper may be accepted with minor corrections. Getting back to the editor, it will go back to the author, and the author will review, go back to the editor, and the editor will take it for publication. Or your paper will be sent for major revision. It requires major revision. If it requires major revision, then it will have to be taken back to the editor, who will take it back to you. And then after the major revision, it has to be taken back to peer review again before a decision is taken on the paper. And then you go to the decision. After that, don't be surprised, they may say rejection. Yes. Or if you are fortunate, they will accept it and publish it. Sometimes it may take up to 6 months or 1 year to publish a paper. Yes, next please. This is how the review process takes place. So everyone is there waiting with his sharp pen to make sure he find out problem with your paper. And your work is to try and scheme and make sure you pass through without getting lynched. Okay, next. So these are some of the types of the peer reviews. Single blind review, double blind review. In the single blind review, the author doesn't know the reviewer, but the reviewer knows the author. For double blind, not the reviewer, neither the reviewer nor the author know each other. Open review, the reviewer and the author know themselves. More transparent peer review is just like for the you can find it in either single blind review or double blind review. That more transparent is like when the paper is being finally published, it's published with the comments from the reviewers. At that point, they will seek for the permission from the reviewers to publish with that. You can have collaborative review. After there will be then link now between the author and the reviewer. The author will be like mentoring, the reviewer will be like mentoring the author. You have also the post-publication review. After the editor has gone through the paper, we just publish it. And then they will have now solicited reviews and even unsolicited reviews. And then you have triple blind peer review, where the author, the reviewer, the editor doesn't know each other all through the process. In any of these, there can be pros and cons. The time is not enough for us, I think, to discuss that. I'm not sure. How much time do I have more? Sorry, sir. Next slide. Welcome to rejection. Stay strong. Most of researchers have had their papers rejected, but that does not mean you should not try again. So get strong. Next slide. What will you do when the rejection happens? Are you going to cry? Or will you just lie down? My advice is try not to cry. Okay? Next slide, please. So it's very important to look after yourself at this time, because if you're not careful, you'll be highly devastated. Don't take it personal. Because your article is being rejected does not mean you are rejected. Okay? It's article, it's not you. Okay? And you need to also look at your goals. What are your goals? Don't run away. He who fights and runs away shall live to fight another day. Share your experience. One of the best ways to make yourself happy when something bad happened to you is share what happened to you with your friends. They will tell you, don't worry, so thing even has also happened to me. Share with your senior colleagues. They will tell you, don't worry, this is just the first time. You can even submit to 3 journal publishers and they will tell you it is rejected. You can still go, and it can even make it up to nature. You should read the rejection letter carefully. It's very important. And take your time and resubmit for publication. Yes, next slide. We don't have time to discuss more. Just go for the next one. So the paper may get rejected because of the language. Poor construct in the language. lack of originality, lack of problem with plagiarism, copyright issues. You copy a figure, you copy a picture, and you publish with it. Then you reject it. This is just an editor's comment. He said, this paper fell well below my threshold. I refuse to spend time trying to understand what the author is trying to say. My rule of thumb is that if there are more than 6 grammatical errors in the abstract, then I don't waste my time carefully reading the rest. These are some of the rejection comments. Don't worry about the beginning. Look at where they say, however. That is the main point. However, all those ones is just story to calm you down. However, we have decided not to accept this submission for publication as it does not fit our current editorial needs. The other ones say, at the moment, we do not have room in our publishing schedule for it. Yes, next. After publication, what next? You had made it to succeed. You have succeeded, you are published now. What do you do next? Share with other people. Go to ResearchGate, go to LinkedIn, share on Facebook. But when you are sharing, be careful. Make sure that you do not infringe on the copyright rules of the journal. If you are unsure, please always contact the editor. Yes. To end the news, the main points again. So we have had a journey of publication. We have tried to look at the impact of research, important, public engagement, which is very important in research, because when you do it, you are discussing with the public. Some people you don't even know, but you have to make sure that you know the reason why you are publishing. If you don't know the reason why you are publishing, please keep it and think about it. Maybe you don't need it. Just like not everybody needs PhD. Just like not everybody needs a degree. Yes. So whatever you want to do, you should be sure why you want to do it. You should be very selective. Don't just publish anywhere. You have done a lot of work. You have suffered a lot. And you don't just throw it. You don't trash it. You don't throw it anywhere. Choose where to publish. It's very important. And make sure that what you are writing, you are passing a message. You are trying to change some things. You are trying to make an influence. You are trying to make an impact. And you should not procrastinate. Get to the work and start it. And you should always be patient, precisely at the level of the review process. You will hear a lot of things. Lastly, it may be good for you to check this book. It's a very good manual for writing articles. Whenever you are writing an article, keep it by your side. Science research writing for non-native speakers of English. This is very, very good. And lastly, I will say thank you to the organizers and thank you for your rapt attention.
Came in, so let us also recognize Malam Ahmed Yusuf. He is going to be one of our presenters today too. So, I think let us be a little bit brief with this session. Brief. I beg. Usually maybe we would have adopted the system of counting those who want to. Yes. Because some people's questions will now force some people to ask questions. We have multiple written questions.
Facilitator, thank you very much. The issue of okay, let me just use my okay. I wanted to ask a question on this issue of abstract. I've been seeing so many abstracts, no any background to the abstract, but thank the facilitator. I'm now convinced and I'm taking a stand. I prefer the one that you will not just start from this purpose of the study. I've been seeing many abstracts. You just start from the purpose of this study is set up for a reader. Somebody that is reading will like to know more about the background of that. At least some introductory sentences or sentence can be made before telling us the purpose. The question, types of publications, that's one of the questions. You know, it's not only empirical. In some places they will concentrate on empirical, like when it comes to research papers. When it is not empirical, because we have position papers, we have just review papers. So I want the facilitator to shed light on this. Which one is more important? Is it empirical research papers or theoretical review and the rest? If there are other types, we would like to know. Authors and co-authors. How many authors is a paper supposed to have? We have the major author and then we have co-authors. Some will have 3, some will have, how many? What is the minimum? And sometimes one may decide to write alone.
What is minimum?
A minimum maximum number of authors on a particular article. And in some places we reject 1 or 2. They prefer saying 2 or more. So the maximum. And then how can we address issue of superiority versus inferiority complex in Nigeria tertiary institutions, especially when it comes to journal, that's institutional based journals. Sometimes somebody lecturing in the university will not like to publish a paper in a college of education, polytechnic, and other research institutes. And the concentration is more on university journal papers, even when it comes to promotion. So how can we address this issue and then try to bridge up the gap? Because there are some journals that meet up the requirements, but because of where they are placed, they are looked down upon. So let's try to check this so as to meet up the global practice, because that's the main thing. I think I will stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Maybe we'll take one more from this side before we now come to this side, and then we'll come. Let us try to moderate today. Thank you.
Members of the high table, my distinguished participants, my name is ABUBAKAR, a student from Department of Library and Information Science, ABUBAKAR. Sir, I have 2 questions. In the process of your presentation, you said that an abstract is like conclusion. So you are to write abstract after the writing of your content of the paper. But I observed that most of the journals, they prepare to request for abstract before content of the paper. Why is it so, sir? Journals, they prefer abstract to submit abstract.
Call for abstract.
They would ask.
Conference for journal.
Yes, they would.
Conference, not journal.
Conference. Do call for abstract.
Okay. Okay, I'm okay, sir. Then my second question. In writing empirical paper, will I include objectives of the study, hypothesis, and research question at the same time? If yes, must I discuss the hypothesis and still analyze the research question? Thank you, sir.
From this lady, Tempuna.
Time.
Good afternoon. Please, I have 2 questions for the presenter. Number one is, you said that number one is, in choosing where to publish your paper, how will we know as a author that where you are saying the publishers are that the journal is a recognized journal? Then number 2, I've been hearing of that there are some people that do free publication. Can you please suggest some of, if you have an idea about it? Thank you.
The open access publications.
Protocol duly observed. My own is on reference. Sir, you have presented a paper today, 23rd February 2022. 24th. Then I am able to access your paper or article tomorrow. Can I use YUSUF MA access 24th February 2022? That's my question.
This
Journal paper. Yes, sir. An article. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My question goes this way. You said in in-text citation that, let's say, for example, if you are writing in 2022, for example.
You say in
in-text citation.
in-text citation, okay?
2022. That we should not cite from 1990 and above. You made mention of that. So, what of if you are writing a topic that is historical, that calls for knowing the background? How do you reconcile that?
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I want to know what is a position paper, review paper, and other forms of articles, sir.
Yes, any other question? Okay.
Good afternoon, all protocols observed. I want to commend the organizers of this program and also say that the students or students of postgraduate students in the department, other departments, because I learned this program is for people who are in the academic and all other parts. But I'm sorry to say that the institute here are not aware. I was just telling him that we have a lot of researchers here who could have benefited from this, but many people are not aware that this program is going on because it came into the library 2 days before this program was staged here. And I was saying that a lot of our research staff would have benefited, and a lot of them are doing their masters and PhD now. In fact, yesterday when you were having this program here, I'm part of the staff development committee, and we were meeting to release some students to go for their programs. And I was saying that this program, like us that finished from the department in 2004, 2002, we didn't benefit like this. You that are seated here, you are benefiting. So I believe that your research work will be very high and top in the department or in ABU. So I want to commend the people that organize this program. And also, I wish some of the undergraduate students were here, because some of the undergraduate students, if you look at the work they write now, you will really be ashamed that you finished from ABU. Because my husband gave me somebody's work to look at, and I was just laughing throughout because we didn't know whether he was communicating in English or it was in Hausa or Idoma language. So I was just saying, when we were students in ABU, I don't think that we spoke this kind of English. And I'm so happy. When he was presenting, I was really putting down some questions. But as he was going on, the questions were being answered. You know? So it's a good program that if it comes on like this often, a lot of people will benefit from it. I want to commend the organizers, and I want to say that we should have this kind of program often, and we should try to make people to be aware so that they will participate in the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Lisfn officials, publicity is key. Yes. You see, here is a research institute. A whole lot of researchers will have been here. But nonetheless, there is always the next time.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The last time I said good morning, now it's afternoon. Yes. The first question, speaking about the abstract, no background. Yes, mostly it is target specific. Like we talk about publication. You know your target, you know the readership, you know the people that you wanted to read the work. Okay? So in some journals, when you go, there is even what is called graphical abstract. That you just see figures. That's the abstract. Sometimes some information is added, or sometimes just figures. So it's called graphical abstract. So it's target specific. Okay? There is nothing bad in you taking a stand and feel no, it should have a background. That is why we're in academic gathering. You know, that is the ordinary for academia. We agree to disagree, isn't it? You can all make your own point, you can make your stand that any abstract that doesn't take background, I will not read it, no problem. But unfortunately, if you are not careful, you will miss very important article. They say if you close your eyes because you don't want to see the wrong people, the right guys will pass unnoticed. Okay? So, but they are all acceptable models. You can have that model and you can have the other model. And there is another question which was also asked, I think the 10th person asked a question. The 10th question talking about position paper and review article. Position paper sometimes may not be considered to be even an academic publication, only if it is a position paper with respect to academic activities or an academic challenge. Someone maybe, if someone is writing about a particular paper, and some of those people may be even writing a kind of like a critic review to a particular paper, okay? But I know, coming from the background of NGO, we do write position papers, but we don't consider position papers as a part of academic publication. As for review paper, it's a paper that tries to follow through or take the reader through the journey of a particular research area, a particular activity, most possibly trace down to the beginning or to a particular point. Okay? And the review article will always assist you. That is why when you want to conduct a research, you are always advised sometimes to read a review article. Most review articles also give you current trend. Normally, it's someone who has done a lot of research in an area that sits down and write a review article. Okay? I remember when I was discussing with a professor sometimes back in the United Kingdom, I told him that I think I need to write a review article. He said, Yusuf, it's not everybody that writes a review article. Mostly are people who have conducted a lot of research in the particular area and then they will write a review article. Okay? Review article is very important. Sometimes a review article can have better citation or better impact than even the empirical research. Okay? But sometimes you can have empirical research that is better than the review article. It all depends on what are they writing, what are they targeting, what is the journal, in fact, is even published. You cannot tell me that a review article published in Nature will be below an empirical paper published in, say, maybe some journals, let's say research methods journal. You understand? Or maybe you will say that the one published in IEEE transactions. So review paper is review paper and empirical moment is empirical paper, but are not compared to a position paper. The language even used in position paper is different from the normal languages we use in academic publication. Sometimes we write as if we are protesting. You don't write as if you are protesting in academic journal. Number of authors in a paper, it can be thousands up to millions. The more the number of the authors, the better the paper. The more the number of the authors, the more it is getting, the more it will be accepted. Okay, the more it is respected. Because the current trend today is interdisciplinary research. You will see YUSUF from physics, Hayati from library science, Isa from mathematics, John from computer science, someone from biology, someone from engineering. You will come together and conduct research and write a paper. They are addressing one thing, but each person or each researcher is looking at it in his own perspective. They will put all those together. So forget about those telling you about the limit of the number. It's just because people are just using it to get promotion, and they will say, okay, it has to be one, it has to be two. And also it's because of what Prof said. Please add my name. Superiority or inferiority complex about journal published in colleges of education versus journal published in university. This is a matter of policy. As I said, I'm highly protected. Prof is here, I'm sure he will shed more light on that. Abstract like conclusion. Abstract is different from conclusion. But as you will not write conclusion at the beginning of the paper, until the end of the paper, you will not also write abstract until you finish writing paper. The difference is that in abstract, you are summarizing the whole work, but in conclusion, you are making a recap and trying to compare what are your aims and your objectives, have they been achieved, and what is the implication of what has been achieved. In the empirical paper, someone is also talking about the objectives of the research hypothesis, research question, and other things. And as I said, I'm happy Prof is here. I will leave that question for him to answer. I am YUSUF. I cannot answer all your questions for you. I will only tell you what I know. I don't know everything. How to know recognized journals? It's easy. Go and use the Chimago tool, or you use the journal citation reference, the reports. Just copy the title and place it there. If it is recognized, you will see it there. How to get published free? A good number of journals that are reputable, you don't have to pay for publication. Even the one I was telling you I published, IEEE Transaction Nuclear Science, I didn't pay a dime. You only pay if you want it to be open access. Then you have to pay for it to be open access. But a good number of journals are free of charge. You don't have to pay. After you publish, they will be sending even your article. Yes, for anybody who wants to access it per article, they may even charge you, like for UK portals where you may be charged like $30. Yes, for just one article. Reference to an article published today. Reference to the article published today, in as far as it has been published, you can make reference to it. It depends on what you are referring at. If what you are referring at may change with time, that is when you are mandated to state the time, the date of access. Otherwise, you may not need to. Okay? You may even refer to article in press. Because when you check, they will tell you how you can cite the article, then you cite it. Because some articles in press can still be seen, or you are opportune to get the article from the person who have written it, but it has not been published in press, you can still refer to it. Okay? I don't know, I hope I understand your question very well. In-text citation. Citation is citation. When? In-text citation is a citation within what you are writing. Okay? The citation in what you are writing is like telling someone that I have taken something somewhere, and I promise you, At the end of the day, I will tell you where I'm taking it from, so that if you also need it, you go and collect it. That is the difference, of course, between the citation and the reference. Okay? Talking about 1990 and below, maybe you are talking about historical. If you have to include a 1990 paper, why not? Your choice. But you should be ready to answer the reason why you have included 1990. Okay? So if you have good reason, you can include it. Also, you know, when we write, sometimes there are basics. Like when you are writing about quantitative or qualitative analysis, you may not be able to finish doing everything maybe without referring to Creswell. And he has books. So sometimes for a basic theory, you refer to the book, and the book maybe was written in 1970. You still refer to it. It's accepted. Okay? But what it said is that we should not have the reference, the list of reference to be taken to carry, let us not have like 70% or 60% to be so much like outdated, like dated 10 or 15 years back. With that, we should say that we are not sure whether you really understand what is happening currently, whether your research is correct or not. And lastly, I think that is all. From this, I will hand over the mic to Pro for the other questions.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. You are welcome for a nice presentation. I want to say that the end thing now in research patterns is what you have just said, interdisciplinary nature of research. For those of you who are watching the trends in the Department of Library and Information Science now, you realize that some students, postgraduate students, are not supervised only by the staff of the department. A lot of them are being supervised by others from other departments and sometimes outside the university. I have a lot of them. So that is the thing. And with regards to publication elsewhere, well, it's a matter of policy that for you to be, for your paper to be accepted and be ready for and accepted for even promotion, you have to publish within that paradigm. And naturally, if you observe yourself, you realize that there is quite a difference between university setting and college of education or polytechnic setting. If you say you don't, then you are only deceiving yourself. It's just like when you take a primary school teacher and you want to equate him with him or her with who is teaching, those teaching in, let's say, college of education, they cannot be the same. So if you agree with this differentiation, then you find that those policies as enshrined in the condition of service remains valid. And I know very well that in ABU, for example, based on practical experience, whatever you write, they still have to subject it to what the last speaker said. And so that is the end thing now. And that is why even in university as we have now, you realize that he was talking about impact journals. You realize that, and it's not only in ABU, most of the universities that I know that are on, they have already listed some journals that if you dare publish there, you are only wasting your time. It will not be considered for whatever it is you want to make out of it. So there is nothing you can do. It's their policy, and they have the right to do whatever they feel is okay with them. Mrs. Abba, I want to thank you for your submission. We do agree that, or rather, we have accepted that there was no much publicity. It's sad that it happened like that. We thought that people will go through the online system like the WhatsApp and so on, where we have advertised this for over 3 months ago. It's sad that what you are now telling us that if we have programs of this nature, apart from the online media, we should just put some posters in various institutions so that your attentions can be caught. But one thing that you have also said, which I'm very much happy about it, is what you have just said, that you are giving a project of undergraduate project. You only succeeded in laughing rather than looking at it. I've said that at the last presentation, that is the problem now. What we're having in most educational institutions is cut and paste, because they are not grounded well in English language. Or what we also, I know about 3 weeks ago, the TEP one has organized a workshop for digitization of projects. So what the idea is, if you go to one university, you pick somebody else's work, come to your university or college of education and just change the title. It can easily be fished out. That is the thing that is on ground now. And I remember saying that these days, madam, you have to appreciate. While they were talking, I was showing them a primary school examination paper that even some students or some university students cannot write a primary school of the 1950s and 70s. Because I remember before I left my primary school, I already know how to write application, how to describe whatever I see. And it is your ability to do that will allow you to secure a job or do some other things. But now we have our graduates who cannot even write an application. And they'll tell you, if you see their whole level, they'll tell you that they have even distinction in English when they have nothing. So that is how terrible the education system is now. We just have to, as Jesus used to say, we forgive them for they don't know what they are doing. So, madam, there is nothing, let's just be matching them. But one thing I know very well that if it is my student, whoever brings any topic to me, I must change it. I will change it to such a way that even if you have somebody else's work, it won't fit. That I have been doing for over 10 years now. Whoever must ask them, they will tell you, you can never bring a topic and accept it like that. I must change it. Bring in some concepts or variables that will change everything. So if you feel that you have forgotten all this, you are only wasting your time, not with Zakari Muhammad. So I hope other lecturers will do the same too, so that we can be involved. So I think I have said what I am supposed to say. All we can say now is so thank you very much for being patient with us. We only have one session left. We'll break for just about 15 minutes more. And when we come, he's already on ground, he'll make his presentation so that we wind up for the program. And on behalf of all of you, we thank our previous speakers and the current speaker that he has just made his. And you know what interesting thing? As he was talking, I've already gotten something out of him. which I'm going to discuss with him, is going to be for the benefit of the department. Thank you very much.
So we will go for 15 minutes recess.